Good day, my friends. Welcome. This is the Tuesday afternoon, the noontime around the nation with all of our new friends and fans and all of our other loyal acolytes, minions, and the devotees who happen to be around the world and are unable to join us late at night. So this is their time. We cannot put into words in any way to explain, explicate, limn, or to describe how thrilled I am that you are with us today. We have so much to discuss, and something that was mentioned, but it's still, I don't think we addressed it carefully enough. But it goes to show you yet again how incredibly horrid the exploitation of Charlie Kirk's memory and body and love letters on the part of of Erika Kirk. Not only does she use his body as a prop, but moments of intimacy and love. Would he want this to be shown? I don't believe so. Maybe if you're John and Abigail Adams, maybe, and significant time has elapsed. We will discuss that and other aspects today. So get ready, my friends. It's going to be a barn burner. But first, this word from our sponsor. My dear friend and patriot, this is not about fear mongering. This is about reality. Look around the world right now. The Strait of Hormuz. Let me say that this is the one I wanted to show you. When disaster hits, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back on what you already prepared. Wildfires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, blackouts, EMP and grid attacks, riots, disaster. Get it? And when the warning comes, there's no time to search for flashlights or bottled water or first aid supplies while your family waits at the door. That's why My Patriot Supply created the fully stocked bug out bag. You've got to get this. It's a rugged, grab-and-go tactical backpack packed with 60 emergency essentials, including food, water, shelter, fire, starting tools, lighting, first aid, and more. Everything is already packed and ready right out of the box. Keep one in your car, your home, your RV, your office, your cabin, because the emergencies never make appointments. And right now, you can get $100 off plus free shipping for a limited time. So act now. There will be no special invitation in life. Disaster always comes unannounced. Get prepared now. Go to preparewithlionel.com. That's preparewithlionel.com and click the link today. My friend, where do we even begin? Let me see if we can perhaps get to the bottom of this. First of all, welcoming all of our friends. We had France in the house and Argentina. That warms the cockles of my heart. Whatever a cockle is and why it is warmed, I have no earthly idea. But I'm so glad you were here, and I'm so proud to be a part of this. We have new members also, Jane Spear, and what are the odds? Jane Spear is there. Welcome. And what are the odds? Welcome to you as well. Indeed. But let's talk about something which is very, very, very critical. Very, very critical, which I find ultra fascinating, and perhaps you do as well. You know, my friends, I call this reluctantly the conservative movement. I'm not even sure if that's correct. I'm not sure if what we're doing is a conservative movement, but whatever this is, it has always, I believe, prided itself on one thing above all else. Maybe this authenticity. You know, real conviction, courage, real people saying what they mean and meaning what they say, as the expression goes. And that is precisely why the ongoing conflict involving Candace Owens and Erika Kirk has struck such a nerve across all aspects, I think left and right, but across the right as well. And it is not, interestingly enough, it is not merely gossip. It is not, inside baseball. It is a larger battle over something which I think we don't really talk about anymore. And I think we should. And that is a notion of dignity and legacy and grief and the increasingly exhibitionistic performance nature of modern what would you call it? Political branding, for lack of a better word. Candace Owens, whatever one thinks of her style, whatever one, has become one of the few figures willing to say out loud what countless, we used to call them conservatives, and I'm saying we're losing this term, whisper privately. She has built her career by refusing to bow to pressure campaigns or to donor class sensitivities or carefully orchestrated, collected, curated narratives. None of that. She's not been interested in this in the least. She has repeatedly shown a willingness and a desire to challenge anything, up to and including sacred cows on the right, with some folks getting upset and using the same intensity that she applies to the left. And that independence is rare, absolutely rare. More importantly, my friend, it is valuable. So when Candace criticized Erika for publicly circulating intimate writings, again, this hits me, this hits my nerve level. But for circulating this, intimate writings, private correspondence from her late husband that he never intended for anybody to see but her, many immediately accuse her of cruelty. But if one removes and strips away the veneer, the emotional reflexes, and looks specifically at what Candace was actually saying, there's an uncomfortable truth that emerges. She was actually, believe it or not, defending the idea that some things should remain sacred and intimate and private. Ask yourself this question, and I will repeat this. Would Charlie have wanted this to be known? Now, the modern internet that we know, the modern internet economy, rewards spectacle and clicks and metrics and mayhem. And it rewards emotional, kind of this exhibitionism, this virtue signaling. That's what Erika does. Well, not best, but she does it profusely. And it also rewards grief turned into content. Anything that's schmaltzy, because remember, she has no soul. So anything that she can get her hand on, anything, storming out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, pretending to be afraid when nobody else was, saying I just want to go home, and interestingly enough, having a camera cover that, just like to make sure she was mic'd when she lay atop the corpse of her husband. Every private moment becomes engagement, production. And every tragedy in her world becomes monetizable and quantifiable, becomes a metric. And social media have created a kind of a culture that we live in right now, in which the idea, what we used to consider, sadness and mourning and feeling bereft and feeling just hurt, all of it is now transformed into performance art. And what we used to call conservatives, these people who once championed restraint and modesty and dignity and all that, they're not immune, apparently. You see, Candace recognized this instantly. And you know this, I know this. Her criticism was absolutely blunt because the situation itself was blunt. Let me just ask you this. Just ask yourself, would you like this? Would you do this? Sharing deeply personal notes and letters and intimate thoughts from a deceased spouse in order to what? To reveal what exactly? It's to up your metric. It's about you. While simultaneously attaching fundraising appeals, inevitably creates, I think, questions about motive and propriety and whether it's right or wrong. And that's not an outrageous observation, I don't think, in the least. It is common sense. Remember common sense? In another era, another time, these so-called conservatives themselves would have been the first to be repulsed by this, to recoil from such public displays of intimate correspondence. I don't think Nancy Reagan would have done that. Do you think so? Imagine Ronald Reagan's private love letters becoming social media fundraising, using pet, words or nicknames. Imagine William F. Buckley's handwritten marital notes appearing in emotionally charged, heavily produced, donor campaigns. Other generations would have found the entire concept deeply and weirdly uncomfortable. Not because not because they lacked or didn't have compassion, but because they believed that there were boundaries between public leadership and your private life. Would you want this? Would you want this? Candace Owens essentially asked whether those boundaries even exist. Do they even apply? Do they apply? Is there anything off limits? Is what she asked. And what makes this whole thing so sickening and revealing is how quickly some people attempted to frame any criticism of Erika Kirk as here we go, automatically immoral. After all, she's a widow, and we all grieve differently. Suddenly asking questions about optics and decorum and propriety, and whether it was emotional manipulation, it became taboo. Stop it. You just can't talk. She's like these certain topics you just don't bring up. You know what I mean? Have you noticed how sometimes certain subjects are that's anti-Semitic? Whatever you say, I didn't finish your question. It's anti-Semitic. Same thing with her. But conservatives, by the way, are supposed to reject this theoretically. By the way, these conservatives are so full of shit. But they're supposed to reject emotional blackmail, but they surrender to it. And Candace didn't attack Charlie Kirk's memory. In fact, it's the opposite. One could argue that she was defending it. She's the only one doing it, and the only one caring about who's really responsible for his death, who is really to be held responsible. Charlie Kirk built TPUSA into one of the most influential youth conservative organization in America. And by the way, and you can agree or disagree with aspects of his approach, that is totally, totally your right. But he was undeniably, absolutely effective. What he did, he energized, he woke in a good way young conservatives or people who I use that word at a time when campuses have become ideological, nothing like these monocultures. We have like a uniparty. It was just nothing, and he fought aggressively to the end against progressive orthodoxy. He understood media warfare maybe better than anybody else, and he was bold and he was confrontational, but he was respectful. He understood a hell of a lot better than a lot of older Republicans did. But there is a big difference. There's a huge difference, and I think you'll agree, between preserving someone's mission and commercializing someone's memory. I believe you never, ever, ever let anybody know anything that you do that's personal. That is private. It's not for public consumption. You know what I mean? And all of these distinctions that I'm talking about matters. And by the way, the right or whoever's responsible, they have spent years criticizing what it sees as the left's tendency to materialize and commodify and commercialize, victimhood and emotional trauma. But and they've also, by the way, mocked, the culture of performative, vulnerability, where every experience becomes a public therapeutic exercise. I need my therapy ferret and my dog and my CBDs, and I've got anxiety. They make fun of that. Yet now, some of the same people, for some particular reason, suddenly insist that, questioning grief, and specifically grief-based fundraising is somehow, that's beyond the pale. That's too much. Nonsense. Candace Owens refused to play along with that contradiction, and it kills them. And she doesn't care what they think. She really doesn't care. And what also infuriates many observers, people, is the broader context. The broader context which surrounds Erika Kirk's increasingly public role within the movement. Why is she still there? Why is she still there? There's a perception among many grassroots organizations on the right or conservatives or whatever you want to call it, that a kind of political aristocracy has emerged. And that is, if ever there was something oxymoronic, it is that. But this political aristocracy around major organizations. See, branding, some people say, begins to overshadow substance, and emotional narratives in particular become strategic tools. And carefully, this crafted and this organized imagery replaces real leadership, organic leadership, the stuff that lasts. And Candace Owens has tapped into that frustration like nobody's business. And she speaks to people, to her followers, to conservatives, everybody who feel exhausted by this, you know, I don't know, consultant culture, whatever this is. It's all donor driven. It's nonsense. It's not a thought, it's messaging. It's not truth, it's messaging, it's branding. And it's emotionally manipulative. And the campaigns are disgusting and they masquerade as authenticity. And you know that's the problem. And they keep thinking, for some reason, Erika and others, that we don't notice these things. And whether they're discussing foreign policy, which they never really do, media hypocrisy, or now this controversy. Candace, by the way, Candace always positions herself as somebody who is willing to puncture these, these arguments, these narratives that other people are too afraid to challenge, and that drives people crazy. And by the way, to be quite candid, which I am, many people respect that. I do. I love people who go out there and they say, "I don't care what you think." And critics accuse her now of being inflammatory because by the way, they're running out of things to say about Candace. They're running out of things. Now she's a Russian. What is she? A Russian agent, or she should sign up for FARA because she visits. She visits. I don't understand this. Why didn't somebody say the same thing when Sean Penn met with Zelensky and brought him his Oscar? Or Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller met with Zelensky. Why was that okay? Why was it okay for Jane Fonda to go and to meet with members of the NVA and to basically turn in, it is alleged, to turn in reports from people, messages to send back home? You explain this to me. Nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. They're so bent out of shape about Candace going and appearing perhaps maybe on a TV station. Could she have done this in China? Sure. Turkey? Sure. Israel? Absolutely. Not only that, it's okay for people in this country to be dual citizens. It is okay to have the prime minister basically address Congress repeatedly, to have actual lobbying groups solicit people. By the way, people working in such conjunction that they're thinking maybe FARA should apply there. Oh, no, that's different. You've got to understand something. The hypocrisy of this will blow your mind. That's the part which I love. Raul Rodriguez. Hello, Raul. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. So what do you think about this? Is she being unfair? Was this just normal? If you died, would you want your husband or wife to reveal your intimacy? Was it? The Laura Loomers don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. She's not caving in. She's not giving in. And the story keeps going on and on and on. And yet somebody will say, "Are you still talking about..." That's my favorite. I don't know if you get this. Seriously, are you still talking about her? I say, it never ends. They act like the story is already over with. It never ends. It's unbelievable. It's one of those things that this is the story. I've had I'm not going to tell you who, but people who are asking me, why is this so interesting? Is it because it has everything? It has everything. First of all, you have just cluelessness. That's number one. Plus you have, let me ask you something. Name one person today Name one person who holds the messaging, the branding, the firepower more than Candace Owens. Who is it? Jay-Z? Raul says, I have 3 hearts like an octopus. Bless your heart, thank you. And take care of them. Who is it? Who? Remember Jay? Have you seen Jay-Z lately? Have you seen it? I happen to just catch this on X. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this lunatic version is. This is an exaltation. This is a parade of insanity. Everything is kind of collapsing. But right now, the person who gets the most attention, bar none, is Erika. I mean, he's up there. Well, maybe, but it's Candace. Absolutely. Not Laura Loomer. Not any of the Trumps. Nothing. Nobody. Tucker is close, but not there yet in terms of this. Now, how do you know this? Well, I'll tell you this much. One of the things that I have always done, and I've made a point of it in my career, is to point out what is hip, what is in, and what is not. And when I tell you what's hip or in or not, it's not that I'm advocating it. I'm not saying, hey, that's a great idea. That's terrific. I'm telling you, this is the way it is. Period. End of discussion. I'm merely telling you, this is what is happening. That's all. Certain things just work. It's to be somebody who knows brands, somebody who knows what's happening in the world, somebody who's aware of it. And I got to tell you something, which is really interesting. When somebody hits a nerve, you got to say, okay, let's see how long this lasts. And then other people will come along and they'll just make fun of it, but they don't really understand it. Give you an example. I'm not trying to make any comparison, but I'll give you an example. Taylor Swift. People will say Taylor Swift, they will just laugh at Taylor Swift. Laugh everything about Taylor Swift you can imagine. They just do. And I asked them, I said, do you know how big she is? No. Do you know how big she is? Well, maybe not. Well, let me tell you something. She is enormous. And it's almost like they're saying, I don't really understand what this is. The biggest issue right now, and what I would tell if I could ever speak for CPAC, one of these groups who are, by the way, hanging on by a thread, because I don't know what they represent, but you had this duty. And for some reason, you always assumed that people were just going to love whatever you did because they just loved the name conservative. And they came along and they didn't really pay any attention. They just didn't pay any attention. They didn't seem to care much about anything. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. And what happens is, interestingly enough, they come along and they just said, well, people are just going to, anytime the word conservative comes along, people are just going to ride to it. I'm telling you right now, there are people, you are watching, and you could not care less about conservative. I'm telling you right now, the word conservative has such, in many respects, such a kind of a negative connotation in some respects. It doesn't for me. I don't really care one way or the other. But to some people, that has such a negative connotation that would have nothing to do with it. Let me ask you something right now, especially my dear friends, my dear European friends and those who are watching. Do you like the name conservative? Do you abide by that? Do you care about that? Is there something about that name? Are you a conservative? Anybody here? Anybody? Is there anybody who even uses this word anymore? Do you consider that? Do you say I'm a conservative? I was watching recently Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter. And Ann Coulter was talking about conservatives as though people knew what the word meant. It might be good for shorthand. It might be good for just some kind of a shortcut, I should say. But does it mean anything? What does conservative mean? What does that even mean? Conservative family values. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is conservative value? What does that mean? Whoever does it. I never use it. I never use it. It's old. It's anachronistic, and it makes me think of Ronald Reagan, Barry Goldwater, Newt Gingrich, Sean Hannity. Is that it? I'm not any of those folks. That's not conservative. It's common sense. Since when does it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Since when does the idea of standing up for something have to be given a name? Why isn't it just common sense? It's precisely that. It is common sense. I mentioned this yesterday, which is the most important, which is so critical. And this is one of the things that I hope that Candace does on a regular basis. She brings up three things. Number one, first and foremost, America first. America first will solve all of our problems. 95 countries, 877 bases. What are we talking about? Did you hear the latest? Did you hear about Axios and President Trump with Bibi? Did you hear that? Who heard this story? Did you hear the story of President Trump screaming at Bibi Netanyahu? Tell me if you heard it, yes or no. Tell me. Because he told Bibi, he said, your ass would be indicted by now if it wasn't for me. And you're going to stop this. And I'm trying to be done with this. I'm going to get that because he wants to get out of this. This has led nowhere. By the way, you know what's coming up? You know what's coming up? We're going to be having July 4th. We have, of course, a 250th anniversary. Then there's going to be vacation time. People are going to be on the road and they're going to be feeling the real pinch, the strain, the problem of higher taxes and gas and the like. They're going to really feel it. So a long way down the road, there's always been conservative and liberal, but it didn't really mean that much. In fact, the conservatives, the Tories and the Labor and all that kind of jazz, the labels mean absolutely nothing. The first rule is common sense. Am I conservative? No. The conservatives here apparently have completely abnegated, turned their back on American values. And Candace brought that up. Why are we giving how many billions of dollars to Israel for what exactly? What are we doing? What are we doing? Same thing goes for Ukraine. It's not just Israel. It's for Ukraine. And to be quite fair, at least when Israel comes, it says, look, if you scratch my back, we'll scratch yours. AIPAC makes a lot of sense. We'll help you. What has Ukraine ever given us? Nothing. Nothing. And tell me again, why isn't Sean Penn involved? Did he file for some kind of FARA connection? Anybody tell me with that? And by the way, when he met with El Chapo, was that okay? Can you do that as well? Same thing with Ben Stiller. Imagine them trying to explain to Zelensky, who the hell is Ben Stiller? So what I'm saying is, who is out there pointing out the hypocrisy that they throw against Candace? Who? Nobody. Now, what's very interesting to note is for the first time, I swear to you, I've been doing this for a while. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's very, very critical. Very, 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 very critical. I have seen this. I have never seen such, and what's the word? I have never seen such antipathy, negativity, outright condemnation of Israel. And by the way, our connection ever like this, ever. I mean, it's always been there. Oh, yeah. But never like this. Never. And by the way, that Axios article, where do you think that came from? The White House did it. Trump sent it out. Trump sent it out. Trump wanted to let you know, he's signaling to you, hey, listen, I'm not buying into this shit anymore. I know. I'm trying to get out. I'm blaming him. That's how it got out. He's had it. Do you see what's happening? He's had it. Second thing is going to be crime. And the third thing is going to be plain old non-leftist. I'm reading this thing where SAG-AFTRA, I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, they're going to be a part of the Pride Parade. What is this Pride Parade bullshit? What is this? Why? Why is there a Pride Parade? I saw something recently where the New York State Trial Lawyers Association has Pritzker as a speaker for Law Day. They've lost me. How did this happen? I ask you something. To my friends in Europe, how bad is it there? Somebody told me that in France, they said, don't go to Paris. It's awful. It's terrible. They've been outrun. They've been overrun by people. Somebody writes, it's all bullshit. What's all bullshit? What? We've only been talking about, God bless you. God bless you. Remember something. When you're commenting, people don't know the context of you say, you bet. That's so right. What? There's a million things going on. Be specific. We want to share. We want to indulge in your beauty, in the beauty of your mind, Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Dear God Almighty, your mind. Now, you want to hear some other kind of interesting, kind of fun news? Not really fun, but I love, as you know, big tech and everything. By the way, big tech and tech has brought us together in ways which I will thank them for. The very fact that I'm talking to our great friends in France and Buenos Aires and others, absolutely, positively, it is just incredible the fact that we are actually doing this, actually being able to speak in real time right now. In real time. Somebody writes right now, I enjoy the diversity in England. A lot don't, though. Emma, what, pray tell, do you mean by diversity? I like diversity. I like heterogeneity. I like that. Anybody have a problem with diversity? Anybody have a problem with diversity? Anybody have a problem with that? I have no problem at all. When that diversity crowds into schools and shows little kids that's when I draw the line, shows little kids at public school, at public libraries with some 6'5" divine looking thing. I don't know about that. Somebody said, what do you think about data centers? I'm very glad you noticed that. Anybody have a problem with data centers while we're on the subject? Anybody talking about that? President Trump's not talking about that. Why? Because he's in bed with big tech. Don't give me this bullshit about Israel and AIPAC. The people who own the country are big tech. Anybody care about this? Any problem with that? Any problem with this? It's a very interesting thing. Data centers. What's the problem with data centers? Sounds pretty good. See, the dirty little secret about the AI revolution is that nobody wants to talk about what the massive data centers are actually doing to the power grid and water supply and environment. See, everybody loves artificial intelligence until they realize that it takes the electrical appetite of a mid-sized nation just to keep the machines humming. Have they made that clear enough to you? No. You see, my dear friends, modern AI data centers are energy gluttons. One facility can consume as much electricity as hundreds of thousands of homes. Think about this. Utilities across America are already warning about grid strain. You've had that before, haven't you? Grid strain. As companies race to build server farms from Microsoft to Google to Meta, and the public ends up subsidizing infrastructure upgrades while tech giants collect the profits. They're not paying for it. You're paying for it. Then there's the water. Remember what I told you long time ago, to the point where people are saying, oh God, hydro imperialism. Casus belli is going to be two things: water, but also fresh water, potable water. These data centers require enormous cooling systems. Some consume millions of gallons of water per day just to stop processors from overheating. And in drought-prone regions, local residents increasingly worry that corporate AI expansion and gluttony that is competing directly with communities, farms, and drinking supplies. Anybody talking to you about that? And the environmental angle gets even uglier. Want to hear about this? backup diesel generators, massive concrete construction, electronic waste, and nonstop, cooling systems create a carbon footprint. Ooh, a carbon footprint in Silicon Valley that it likes to advert. That, we'll put it this way: that Silicon Valley would not like to advertise, would not like want you to know about. And the same people that are lecturing you Americans about carbon emissions and suddenly become very quiet when AI server farms start guzzling electricity around the clock. And there's also the national security issue, because concentrating enormous amounts of data and computing power into these centralized, facilities, these places, it creates tempting cyber attack targets. Oh yeah, there they are. And one successful attack or power disruption could cripple communications and banking and logistics, or government systems, or the grid. And then comes the economic reality. Local communities, you and me, schmucks like us, are often promised jobs and prosperity. Bullshit. In reality, many data centers employ surprisingly few people once construction ends. And when AI kicks in, which is kind of like a surviving, kind of a circular system there, you're not going to need people. And towns get stuck with higher utility pressures while corporations receive tax breaks and sweetheart deals. And again, you pay for it. And then there was the uncomfortable philosophical question. Are we, how would I say this? Are we sacrificing enormous natural resources and electrical capacity and environmental stability, whatever the hell that is, so machines can generate memes and deep fakes and surveillance systems and revenge porn and endless synthetic content? So has anybody ever discussed this with you? Has anybody talked to you about this? Has anybody brought this to your attention? Has anybody? Have you heard of a mini supercomputer that will replace the data centers? I mean, like quantum computers? I don't think you can. You still need the power for this. Nobody's talking to you about this. Nobody's talking to you about it. I heard one that's really good, so I want to give you this story. This is a great story. This is a really good story. One that I think you'll find pretty interesting, I think. And that is this one. This is from Fortune. And I love this. Within the next 10 years, our phones will no longer be our primary personal device. What will? I'll tell you. That's pretty much universally agreed in Silicon Valley among the tech executives and the like, especially, and including, by the way, those at Apple, the major winner of the smartphone era. See, what's happening is that's because computers and phones weren't made for AI. What was that? What was that, Grandpa? I'll tell you what it is. Computers and phones weren't made for AI. Our devices were made to be responsive to our prompts, not to anticipate our needs. And in the AI era, this is going to flip. And the consumer device will prevail that you can see and hear and learn in real time, becoming, this is important, listen to me very carefully, proactive, hyper, super personalized, kind of like your guide through life. It will be made possible by AI agents and with increasingly better able to learn, sense, and react to constant streams of real-time data. It's going to tell you what to do. And the gadgets best suited for this reality are still in the evolutionary stage, with the various tech folks all seeking to advance their vision. Google and Meta are developing smart glasses with cameras that can listen and observe, and OpenAI has acquired legendary iPhone designer Jony Ives hardware startup. You're going to see stuff. It's going to blow your mind. Anybody know what Qualcomm does? Ever hear about Qualcomm? The person who's perhaps the best insight into what will replace, the handheld phone business is Cristiano Amon, CEO of Qualcomm. Qualcomm, most people don't know what it does, but you almost certainly interact with its products. Depending on which car you drive, which computer you use, or what phone you have, there's a high chance that Qualcomm's chips are inside it. Roughly 5 billion devices globally are powered by Qualcomm chips. And the company, which ranks number 117 in the Fortune 500, has partnerships with virtually every major tech player building AI devices of the future, except Apple. Now, let's talk about 6G. Every even generation of wireless is huge. 2G was big, 4G was huge, 6G is going to be huge for that reason alone. But beyond the number, it's one of the biggest transitions we're going to see in wireless. And it's going to be way beyond how we think about wireless. Let me just stop right there. Let me just stop. This is going to be incredible. Look at this. It's time for AI to replace public education. Way ahead of you, my friend. You will not be able to, if I showed you what it will look like in 10 years, you wouldn't be able to even understand it or appreciate it in 10 years. You wouldn't recognize what it was. It's going to be bigger than anything anybody has ever seen. Everything's going to be huge. Everything. And that's why it's time for us to just kind of close down the shop and start all over again, because you're living in the 80s. If you're talking about conservative and family values, yeah, that's good stuff. That family values is great. But we're going to have stuff that challenges the very notion of reality. Reality. This is big, huge, ginormous. It is, I don't know about you, but I love when the shit hits the fan. And baby, is it gonna hit the fan at levels you're going to have somebody. Let me go back to Candace again. In the old days, you had people who were in office and they were important. And then you had people like, Ralph Nader or Phyllis Schlafly and Ellie Schmiel. And, it was like the precursor to the NGOs and organizations. And, Jesse Jackson. And they did something. And then you're going to have somebody who's going to command more power exponentially. Candace Owens. The thing that I worry about Candace, the thing is that she needs, and I'm sure she's already done this because she's very smart, but she has to plot out the trajectory. The worst thing she could do was just kind of go with the flow. See what happens now. See where she lands next. No, she's got to plot the trajectory of where it's all going. That's what she has to do. She can't just sit and respond to what Erika Kirk does or what Colvette does, or let's see, hey, we have well, I'll get back with you when we have the next Tyler Robinson hearing. No, she has to create the trajectory. That's sort of that's where Tucker is doing a better job by he picks the subject, he advances it, he takes you where he wants to go. Candace is too smart to be bogged down by Erika Kirk. This is and I may be cutting my own throat here because it's so much fun because she's but we are getting our fill of her. But I mean fill that nothing's happening next. It's kind of interesting at first because it was new. But this was 9 months ago that Charlie was removed from our world. This is 9 months ago. And there's too much stuff going on in the world. Too much stuff. When Candace has to be the ambassadrix, the ambassador. What is the distaff version of the ambassador? In any event, too big. Too big. Going and speaking with Russia does not make her a foreign agent for Russia. Makes her a foreign agent from the United States. Russia may need her to file something as a foreign agent with this. She's changing everything. She has to say, where do you want to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4? Where are we going with this? Where are we going? And then you make it look as though it's kind of happening organically. She can do something. She could be a hybrid between politics and the advocate. She can change the course of this. She is all of a sudden going to take off. She cannot spend, and these are great stories, and I'll talk about them always, but we're not always going to talk about Erika. She's just going to go away. Doesn't matter. She's going to do something increasingly more stupid because it's the only way she gets any kind of attention. Laura Loomer is going to say something increasingly more stupid and more crazy, provocative. And the best thing you do is just to ignore because it doesn't really matter. And Laura Loomer is now parasitic in that she has to hang on to, she has to hope that Candace somehow acknowledges her. But where is she going to go next? She needs, you ready for this? Her own Turning Point USA. If she loves Charlie, she does, and I think they were great friends, and I think Charlie looked at her like the wiser sister. Charlie was great in terms of explaining kind of the the various issues, but she needs to form her own Turning Point USA, so to speak. She does. She can't just remain doing her show from her home and then talking to people or letting other people determine the story, the category. For example, the Corvette did this or so-and-so did this. No. You're going to determine. You're going to come back and you're going to explain to us how our relationship with Russia. Now, remember, she cannot speak on behalf of the United States. That would be a violation of the Logan Act. She cannot independently seek. I should be a little bit more clear in that she cannot independently seek negotiation as an agent, if you will, of the United States. That's a violation of the Logan Act, which nobody really cares about. So why should she? But he does. She has to come back just to ask people. She has to question, why are we doing it this way? The Shit Show podcast is, dear Lido, I would love to hear about a case you had that would be similar or related to this situation. To what situation? I'd love to tell you about that, but whatever. Thank you very much. What is what particular situation? She really needs to have a very kind of a secret board of advisors. Like, where does she go next? Where does she go next? See, one thing would be terrific. One thing which I've always wanted to do, I would obviously pick up with my wife's work, and I would say what people are doing to focus on children and the like. Oh, Charlie Kirk situation or Erika Kirk. Charlie Kirk, honestly, we've got these. And by the way, I watched our friend the other day talking about the directed kind of the microphone perhaps being used as a weapon. I like to pursue that, but the burden's in your court, so to speak, or the ball's in your court, I should say, and that is not going to be investigated at all, and it should be. It should be, and I don't understand. I don't understand what Charlie Kirk's defense team would you like to hear of another theory? Would you like to hear of another theory? You can even bring this up at cross examination. You can say, by the way, Detective So-so, did you ever look or think about anything other than, the kind of like the subterfuge of the simultaneous crack of the rifle at the time of this? I mean, they can go there. Remember something. What we talk about here is great. 99% of it could never come into court because there's no basis for it. It's either irrelevant, it goes beyond the scope of some of the best stuff about Fort Huachuca is fascinating. How would it come into court? What would be the basis? You can't bring anything you want. It's got to be in relationship to an issue at heart. So that's a different story. But I want to go back and mention this. There has to be something about children. If Candace Owens all of a sudden said Candace's honor award. We have a group of people here that Sisters of Life. These are Catholic nuns. You see them here in Hell's Kitchen. You see them walking around full habit, and they take women and they say, listen, if you have your baby, we will be with you every step of the way. We'll take you to doctor's appointments. We will take the baby. We will place it in adoption. We will do whatever we can. Please don't murder your baby. Don't do it. They're unheralded. Who else is doing this? All these people, these one people, there was this guy one time, he was in Jersey. He would march up and down in front of abortion clinics with pictures of dead babies okay. I never spoke with them. I'm saying, what is this supposed to do? Their problem is not that they don't understand it's abortion. Their problem is that the idea of them giving birth is so scary. They don't know anything about this. What are you doing other than that? And more often than they would say, I'm not doing anything. This is what I want to do. I want to tell you that it's a human being and you're a murderer, and that's it. If Candace Owens decided, and I'm just saying, but if she decided, I want to pursue a more of a Catholic point of view, because she's now a devout Catholic, and do you know what that would do? You would see momentums pop up, and nothing would scare the radical left is saying you're going to take away. No, you don't understand. We want abortion because of eugenics. Margaret Sanger said it. These people have nothing to do with birth control, reproductive rights. We want to end humanity. Candace Owens cannot do this. You're going to make abortion obsolete by telling people they don't have to do it, by removing the stigma, by going to private industry to help people. Do you know what she could do? She could do more than any politician, any president could ever do. This is where Candace has to go next. She has to be I don't want to use words that sound blasphemous, but like a redeemer, like redemption, somebody who was somebody who was a shapeshifter, bigger than anything in the world. It's not going to be Erika Kirk. The world demands her genius and her power more than what this is. This is interesting, but she's too good. Anybody can talk about this. Anybody can do this. It's obvious. Her talent is elsewhere. She brings people together. Let her meet with people. And by the way, find yourself getting rid of people, dismissing the Laura Loomers and these other idiots who do nothing. There's such a low rent level of discussion. And what's even more important is to realize that America First is something that everybody agrees with. Everybody. Not everybody agrees the same regarding abortion. Not everybody, I think family stuff, yes. But everybody says, keep the money here. Everybody. 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 The shit show, the shit show says, we live in Handmaid's Tale, yes. That author was a visionary. Absolutely. You know, it's funny you say that. Isn't it funny how so much of stuff that is, how do I say this? It's this the way that people came along and they iRobot and others. It's one of the most interesting things. By the way, wonderful little overview is The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian story set in the Republic of Gilead, a totalitarian fundamentalist theocracy that overthrew the United States. In a world facing ecological collapse and plummeting birth rates, fertile women are enslaved as handmaids and assigned to bear children for the ruling elite known as commanders. By the way, that was always, as you know, one of the issues and one of the provisions of Nazi Germany. When you get into the idea of people who are into eugenic elitists. Remember, everything you've heard before didn't go away. Everything you've heard about secret societies, masks, eyes wide shut, dystopian, these weird, humans love symbology, semiotics. A semiotician loves wearing red and robes. I told you why the hoodie was so important. Did you see what happens when somebody puts on a hoodie in public, especially young people? They become thuggish and punkish because you revert. The mask, markings, chevrons, all of this is not just something that came about by happenstance. This is very, very real. Everything. And by the way, it takes us, the Bill Coopers and the Alex Joneses and others, to remind folks of literature and stories and fears that nobody's talking about. People are worried about the simplest. See, for example, there's a difference between saying, hey, I'm worried about an ant. Somebody else says, I'm worried about infestation. I'm worried about, a rash. I'm worried about a systemic contagion. You're worried about a symptom. I'm worried about the underlying systemics of this. This has been going on forever. Animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, everything that we did then, we still have now. The same inclinations, the same tendencies, the same tendentious proclivities that we have, it's not going away. The idea that I'm going to be satisfied with this stupid left-right conservative stuff is what I'm trying to tell you. It's dull. It's over. Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are in my utopia, my new world order. They're at the top. They're at the top right now because we're able to do it. They've got to do it while they're young enough, because society hates age. Age, we look at age, you don't say wisdom. You say, oh, that guy knows what he's talking about. No, very rarely. Kind of Bernie Sanders, kind of Noam Chomsky sort of did that, but very rarely. Most of the time, this is a world for the young. If you look older, they don't want to have anything to do with you. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else because you look at them and you think, how could somebody like this know what the hell's going on, even though they know more of what's going on? But you'll understand that later on, perhaps, maybe. But now's a chance. What I'm saying to her is that she cannot spend the rest of her life talking about Erika Kirk. This is going away. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I think this is great because it also makes us ask. Erika makes us ask questions about our own morality, about what we think is okay, what we think is classic. I saw something the other day, which I don't even want to tell you about, but I saw this on YouTube. It was a skit or something they did on SNL. It was so base. I don't even want to tell you about it. It was about you might have seen it. It was about a cake design that looked like a certain orifice, and they were making every kind of grade school poop joke. You cannot even. I mean, I couldn't believe this was even done. From the days of Smart, when Dan Aykroyd was brilliant, and Christopher Guest, and Martin Short, and Billy Crystal, and oh my God, this is so base. This is so, I mean, so what I'm saying is, she's the salvation. I'm serious. Believe me when I'm telling you this. But that's why I've got to instruct her. I've got to be a part of the team, and nobody knows it's me. I want to be a group of quiet people. Say, here's how we're going to plot out. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to venture out from this. You're going to take this hybrid. You're going to be bigger than any politician. You're going to be more important and more powerful, and you're going to use your power that you gained initially because now they will listen to you. Same thing with Tucker. And you are going to redefine, and you're going to do, what did I say? America first, anti-crime, because she has to talk about the crime too much, but she will, and also a return to what you would call conservative values, but getting rid of this weird, where we celebrate kind of this performative, curative paraphilia, this bizarre sexual dysfunction as an art form. Listen to what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. Okay? And let me also tell you something. Listen to me carefully. And I'm going to say this. I don't want to sound hubristic, but I do want to give you this heuristic. Nobody's talking about this. I have a vision for us. I have a plan. And it's to change the world. Not to destroy it, change it. Just want to change direction. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it. Just change direction. That's what I want to do. I want to happy. I want when I know I will have won when the world says, "What was that all about? What happened?" Have you noticed it? Mm-hmm. I want there to be. There was this time. The last time I saw it was about 90. It was before 2000, before 9/11. But Alex Jones was on a trajectory I've never seen before. It was because it was so brand new. Now he may not seem to be as critical, but he was. He said he gave new meaning. There are young people out there who say, help me get through this. What am I? Am I a Republican? No. And that's where the Republicans hate us. Are you a Democrat? No. There's a big difference in what I said. What are you? You are a child, a citizen of the world. And your doctrine, your manifesto is common sense, decency, morality, nothing deep. Religion, that's up to you. Whatever you want. We applaud it. We encourage it. You may not necessarily you may be Baptist, you may be Protestant, Catholic, Jewish. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. That's not it. The point is, It's the secular world that's going to kill us. These people are evil. They're only in it for themselves. And by the way, all these people, big tech, these AI, these data farms, the data centers, they're not doing it to help humanity, it's for themselves. They're using your money, your resources, your air, your water to destroy your world. How do you like that? How do you like that, my friend? All right, we love you. Have a great and glorious day. Please follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Follow her now. Sign up right now. Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. She's got incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Wait till you see what's happening. And I'll tell you the best, the absolute best Look at what she has at Lynn's Warriors. It's Lynn's _ Warriors. She has stories. She gave me that Forbes story today about how iPhones are going to be gone in 10 years. I mean, what? She is so tech savvy. It's frightening. Frightening. So follow her at Lynn's Warriors on YouTube and Lynn's _ Warriors on X. And I'm Lionel Media on X. In any event, thank you, my friends. We'll see you later tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. Thank you for your kind contributions. All you great super chatters, you are beauteous. And by the way, thanks to you, in case you know, we are 400,000, 131. We hit that yesterday. And it's all because of you. We fight for every single one. You are a great and loyal fan base. Remember, I'm leaving you with this. Remember, I want to change the world with you. I'm not doing this just to talk about, I'm not going to be talking about Erika Kirk for the rest of my life. Believe me. That just got us to the party. Now that you're here, now let's talk about other stuff. And when Candace comes back from Russia, she'll have a lot to say. And remember, as we speak, she is seeing, she is enlightened. Her eyes are open. The light switch went on. The epiphany, And that's great. And I go through a lot of those. And it's a wonderful feeling where you say, oh, I see. That's what I want. Same thing for you. I want you to live in an enlightened world. That's all, my friends. Have a great and glorious day until we meet again. Remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.